Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and today I'm showing you one of my favourite cars in the Roots Group family. It is of course the Hillman Minx. Now this being a 1960, the early part of the year, it is a Series 3A. Although one of the easiest ways to tell, by the way, if you're ever wandering out and you're unsure, is you can have a quick look at the grille. And if the grille is chrome, you know it's an A, and if it's aluminium, you know it's a B. Lots more nerdy facts coming up. Now here's the thing, I love Roots Group cars, and I know many of you do too as well, but there's a whole generation, maybe even two now, that don't remember these ever being sold new. And so we're in that danger zone where if we don't celebrate and recognise and appreciate these cars now, the time is ticking for that desirability. So we need to keep them first and foremost, keeping people excited and bringing the joy of Roots Group cars to people. Now every single one I've ever got in, I've really loved. And this Hillman Minx is no exception. I think you're going to fall in love with it yourself, from the drive to the interior to the all-round experience. So wherever you're watching from, I'd love to introduce you to the Hillman Minx Series 3A.
Those of you that are Roots fanatics will know that the Minx name was in use for many years, from 1931, and the earlier cars are badged or known as either pre-war, wartime, and then you get into the marks. So you get Mark 1 through to Mark 8 in 1957. You then get into the mid-50s, 56 to be exact, and Roots bring in the Audax series of Minxes. Now if you think the styling feels American infused, you'd not be wrong, because the car design was helped along by Raymond Loewy. Now if you're into American mid-century culture, you might recognise the name, because he worked on seemingly everything. Honestly, the stuff that he's worked on is immense. He's done the Coke bottle, he's done the TWA Twin Globe logo, right through to other cars such as the Studebaker Commander and the Champion. There is loads of stuff which is credited to him. Now there are several books on this man because he achieved so much. So if you'd like to know more, there's a whole world of literature out there, and really he deserves this whole video series rather than me just slipping him into this one. Anyway, back to our Minx. The series cars were introduced in 1956, and it quickly works its way up to the Series 3 in 1958/59, because of course you've got that jump between the cars being released and then being available. But anyway, they make some really decent changes by Series 3. So the engine increases from 1390cc up to 1494cc, which is the one that we've got in the car we're testing today. Now if you read back in Motor Magazine all the way back when, in 1958/59, they reckon that they achieved on test 76.9 miles per hour, and they did 0 to 60 in, I think it was around 25 seconds. But look, if you drive at those speeds today, you're going to feel like you're thrashing the car. I'll tell you later on that it's much better enjoyed at around 65 to 70. Also, you won't end up with a speeding ticket that way, hopefully. It was an increase in engine size of 7.5%, and Motor Magazine said that whilst it wasn't sensational, it was well to their taste, which I guess is some sort of praise and a nice way of saying you're not going to set the world on fire, but you should get from A to B in relative comfort. 59 also sees the revised gear and axle ratio changes. You see new clutch, new steering mechanism and revised exhaust system, alongside a whole raft of tweaks to the front and back and dash. And one of the nicest changes, I personally think, is the rationalisation of the dash panel, so it brings all the gauges and controls into one place. For the 3A that we're testing today, they then make more tweaks and improvements, and you'll notice that that front screen, which feels a lot larger than its predecessors, is in fact 21% larger than the outgoing model. And there's a real flair in the design department on these. So you see the double chrome strip along the side of each car, attractive new tail lights, and new rear large curved wings, which I think makes it feel even more Americanised. Must have felt like such an exciting car to see out and about. Now there were plenty of options available on these, and truly the list is enormous in the handbook. If I was to read them to you, I'd be reading all day. But one that stands out immediately on this car and that we should definitely mention is the paintwork, because there were 12 paint options at the time, so there were 6 single and 6 two-tone colour options. But if you wanted to go for the two-tone colour option, it was an additional, and bear in mind this is old money, not new, because of course money doesn't change till the 70s, so it was £14 3 3 shillings and 4 pence extra. Now the lifespan of the iiiA is short-lived, not because people don't like it, but because Roots, of course, as we talked about in the Gazelle video, love to keep things marching on. And they make constant improvements year after year after year. And this is replaced by the 3B in the late autumn of 1960.
Coming inside here, my goodness, isn't it a joy to see yet another Roots car that is yet again laid out incredibly well, because that's one of the things about these Roots cars that you'll find the more you get into them, whatever age you jump into, you'll find that so much thought has been put into not only what it looks like on the outside, but also what it looks like on the inside as well. Because even if a car looks incredible on the outside, if you get inside and you're let down by a poor finish, badly laid out gauges, I think it ruins the whole experience as the driver. Now, one of the things I like about this is first of all, this absolutely enormous parcel shelf that runs the entire length left to right on the car, and you can get so much stuff on that. So even though we don't have a glove box on this, it doesn't really matter because there's plenty of space inside there. We're still on bench seat in this. And it is worth mentioning that even though we have got a 4-speed manual here, there was the option as well to get column change. Now I think personally, column change always feels like a better option when you go for a bench seat. However, the first owner of this decided it was going to be on the floor. Looking at the gauges, we've got, I think, quite a lot for 1960. So you've got your speedo, which runs up to 90 miles per hour. Now, do I think we're going to get up to that? Probably not really. So we've got the 1500 engine in this. You're getting, I think it's about 56.5 brake horsepower out of it. And I would say a comfortable top speed in one of these where you don't feel like you're thrashing it is somewhere in that 65 to 70 range. Because remember, if you want a speed demon, you need to be looking at a sports car, not one of these. Coming into the middle there, you've got your fuel gauge. Now, I don't know if this one is like all the other Roots cars that I've driven, where it feels like that first quarter, so full down 3/4, feels like it goes on forever, and you think, wow, the MPG in this car is incredible. And then before you know it, it just seems to do that and drop down to 1/4. So the gauges in these I've found are a little bit hit and miss, and it does actually tell you that you get 7 gallons 32 litres in the tank, which is pretty good going. Now, in terms of fuel MPG on these, owners have given me all sorts of different numbers you can expect on modern E5 fuel, anywhere really between 32 to best 37, 38 seems to be around where people are getting. Coming down from here, you'll see this Roots Group emblem. Now, somebody has put a little clock on this, which is telling the right time, so that's fabulous. Now, if you remember, when we looked at Paul's Gazelle, that was just kind of a Roots emblem, and that's where if you were going to go and get a clock at the time, you would have had your clock put in there. So someone's just, I think, taken that off a watch or something. Nice little Blue Peter fix. Coming over from there, you've got this Smith's gauge, which is split into 3. Got your amp meter, oil pressure, and your water temperature there as well. And you know what, I feel like for a classic car, especially of this era, you've got everything there that you could possibly need to know what's going on. I mean, hazard warning lights would be nice, but you can't have everything. In terms of your pulls, you've got your choke, you've got your lights, and you've got your wipers. Again, I like a simple drive. I don't know about you, but I don't like things to be too over the top. In terms of your heating, this is something that I don't particularly like the layout on these Roots Group cars, is that you adjust it here for demist, screen, defrost, de-ice, whatever. By the way, it is baking. I am boiling today. I had the heater on for about 5-6 minutes and I thought, it is hot. And that's not just because I'm wearing double crimpling. Now, the thing I don't like about this is it feels a little bit fussy to me that we have 3 points of contact to get the heater set up. So you've got the switch down here, you've got this where you decide the temperature, and then you've got this where you decide the direction. It just all feels a little bit over the top for me. But look, it's my one moan about these cars. And then sliding up from there, you've got an ashtray. Oh, this one hasn't been used. Love that. And then coming into the centre here, you've got your steering wheel. And let's see if the horn works. Oh, you can hear the heater. Hold on, turn it off. It is too hot for that. Oh, that is a good horn. Let's try it again. Nice. Commands respect. Sounds like a grown-up horn. Some of these horns that you can get nowadays at replacements are a bit like, no one's listening and no one's giving you any respect. Now, if you notice in the centre here, I've talked about this before and I get mocked and people say, I think you love Coventry more than people that are actually from Coventry. But here's the thing, I do love Coventry. I love the cars, I love the culture, the people, the architecture, even though some of it is very of its time in that 60s, 70s, real brutal concrete way. I think Coventry offers so much, and Coventry had the motor industry. Oh, the cars that came out of Coventry, unbelievable. You had Standard, you had your Roots Group cars, you've obviously got all the other stuff that comes out of Coventry. Everything, of course, immediately leaving my brain. Triumph was down there. Well, of course it was, because Standard was. But anywho, lots of incredible cars came out of Coventry, and these three, I would say, what would you say they are? Like diamond shapes, represent the three spires of Coventry. And so the three spires are your three main steeples. Now, way back when, before they did all the building around Coventry, these were absolute landmarks. And you could see them all over. There's lots of really great pictures actually where you can. And what I really like about this is the fact that you wouldn't know that unless somebody told you. But if you go for a much older Roots Group car, you do actually start getting something that looks a little bit more like the three spires. But anyway, that's just me geeking out. Something else that I really like on these cars, okay, the indicator. It's the indicator I love. Look at it, it's so delicate. It's just so beautiful. I love how this car's constructed. I love the fact that even the door cards, and bear in mind, this is not a luxury car, and that's really important to point out. It's very much that mid-range point. Even the door cards match the car on the outside. I love it, with the little bit of bronzy gold trim. Oh, it is beautiful, isn't it? Now, there are a couple of nods to the modern day. This is one of them. So this is just a little phone holder, but again, very discreet, and it's something that you could remove if you wanted to, because it's only popped there, just glued. And then coming down from there, you've got your bonnet pull and you've got your vents as well. And that, my friends at home, is absolutely everything that you could possibly need in this car. I really love it. I think it's great. The seats are so comfortable. I'll talk about this later on when we go out driving, but they really are. They're so well upholstered. And this is the thing, right, is that Roots Group cars knock it out the park every time, no matter whether you go for entry level or you go right up to the top of the tree and you go for something which is right at the top. Everything is put together with the utmost thought, care and end consideration for the person that's buying the car. And I think some of that as well is down to the fact that Lord Roots, every time they made a car, so say they made this and they put the prototype all together and they handed over the keys, he would go out, test it, put it through his paces and come back and tell them what he thought. And I think that that level of care really shows throughout the entire car. But what does it sound like? Well, I'll get that 1500 engine started up for you. Now, if you were expecting, is it the 1600, 1700? That doesn't come in until, gosh, when does that come in? Is it 60? No, I think it's 61, 62 is when they bring that engine in. So at this point, you're still on this one. Let's check when. So quiet. So refreshing to hear an engine running a smooth note. My God. Have a little listen when I rev it. The owner has spent a fair whack on the exhaust system, so it's no wonder that the exhaust sounds so good. I also want to point out as well, you may have noticed that it says 51,000 miles on the clock there. Apparently that is genuine, which is just fantastic. So I think it was parked up, so it went on the road in 60, parked up in the early 70s, about 1973, and the current owner, Julian, had been like, why was that? And then he started prying and he found no end of welding, and he gave me a list. Look, he gave me this book, and in the book it tells you all the stuff he's done. So I couldn't remember all of it because that is how much he's done. So he has done, goodness me. So he's because of course you can't buy the panels, so he said, I've had to make most of the panels that are fitted and the tooling to manufacture them, including, let's take a big breath, inner sills, floor panel repair sections, 2 underfloor cross members, rear lower corners inside and out, offside rear wheel arch, boot floor sides and the front valance. Also extensive repairs to both front wings along the edge where they meet the bonnet. Oh, and also the top and rear edges and the inner wings at the front also needed extensive repairs. Oh, and the outer sills and inner sills at both sides. However, all the 4 doors are as he found them before he resprayed them. Some people are so brave, they will take on anything. Well, bravo, Julian, because I think it is a cracking car. Now, I want to take you out for a drive. It is a little bit noisier than some of the 70s and 80s classics that we're testing. However, I think you are going to love this. So come on, buckle up, rough out for a drive in this Hillman Minx. Right, let's go on an adventure. Now, in a very iDriver classic fashion, I am actually lost, but it's okay. Look, I know I'm Morris Minors till I die, but if it was 1960 and I got to choose this Minx off the forecourt in this colour, oh, Morris garages would not have seen me for dust. This is beautiful. Now, one of the things that I love about Roots Group cars is the quality, and I mention it every time we do a video. And even though this has had a substantial amount of money spent on it, I'm sure that the owner won't mind me telling you at home that he has spent 4 figures on getting all the chrome redone, and it's given me the name of the place actually. And I don't know if we've talked about this recently or we're due to talk about it, but did you know there are only 13 places left doing chroming of this kind in the UK? So to find a good one and to get anything done nowadays, it's not only a costly endeavour, but also it's a timely endeavour as well. Things take ages to come back. Now, coming back to the car that we're testing, I wonder if I might just turn the wipers off there for you just for a second. Wiper speed's really good, by the way, isn't it? So as I was telling you earlier, it's only single speed wiper. But what I want to stress to you at home is a lot of people think by going for this 1500 engine that you're really sacrificing a lot of speed. But actually, as you can see here, we're cruising along, we're in top gear, we're up in 4th gear, and it's easy enough as it is. My foot isn't flat into the carpet, the engine isn't stressed. Although, look, I know it is quite noisy inside the cabin, but if things like that bother you, then look, you can go and look at things like Dynamat, you can look at sound deadening, and you can reduce that noise further. I think there's a little bit of noise coming from the diff maybe at the back that is perhaps exaggerating the noise. But the driving experience is lovely. The steering is lovely and precise, as you can see here. I'm barely having to grip the wheel as we go along. The seats are so comfortable. I could take a nap in these, they're wonderful. They're lovely and wide, they're sumptuously upholstered. Again, it's that Roots Group quality that's coming through. And remember, this isn't top of the range. It's that kind of mid-range car that would appeal to everybody, and it's an absolutely delightful drive. And it is quite an old car now, you know, it's 1960, although really in the period of upgrades that you get throughout that use of that Minx name, it sits somewhere in the middle, because you get that 1500 engine coming in, what is it, 58, 59? They then phase it out in 61 where they put in that, what is it, 1600? So you get just that nice engine. I like a 1500 engine. I think you get enough power out of it to enjoy it every day. And also, with it being a smaller engine, it's somehow cheaper to insure. So if you're a young person looking at one of these, I know that it would be cheaper to get insured on one of these than the 1600, and you've got enough power to be out on the motorway and doing all the bits you need to do. But what don't I like about it? Because I know a lot of you are going to ask. So number one is I would really like it if this bench seat was just maybe an inch or two higher, because I'm not very tall, I'm only 5'3", so the seat is all the way forward, which means that it catches this gear stick. So I'm down in fourth and the gear stick is touching the seat, which some people might find a little bit off-putting. And the steering wheel is quite large and the eye line of it is hitting right here, so I can just see the bottom of it, and if I don't zone it out it can be a little bit distracting. Now what else don't I like? Well look, I'm a big fan of Roots cars, and so it's really difficult for me to be objective sometimes, but I guess the position of the seat I'm not entirely keen on. I'm always gunning for that overdrive, but overdrive really isn't one of those options that a lot of people pick on the Roots stuff until late into the 60s, so you won't see it really as something that most people go for on one of these. Goodness me, what else is there to pick apart? Not much really. The turning circle is quite big, so I mean if you are going to go for one of these and you're looking to be turning around in a small cul-de-sac, just be wary of that, be mindful. And the positioning of the handbrake being down on your right hand side can feel a little bit strange if you're new into it. Now apart from that, and again look, right, this is a really great example of where the steering wheel is in a strange position for me as a shorter person, is that I've just manoeuvred there, and as I was coming over the brow of the hill I found myself looking through this bit of the steering wheel rather than looking over the top to get the best view. So I guess really that's the only thing that I want to be fussy about. But the thing is that the design of these is so simple that if it was my car I would probably look at some sort of workaround at propping the seat up higher. There must be something that people have done. But look, if you're looking for a 60s car that isn't too expensive and you get a lot of car for your money, you would not be doing badly to look at a Roots car, because for some reason things like Morris Minors and Minis and MGBs and all of that, they command quite high prices, and sometimes you don't get much change from £5 nowadays, which can be quite off-putting, especially for somebody who's looking for a budget classic that they can run around in, or maybe you're a young person looking to get into these cars but you just don't have that massive capital to start off with. Go and have a look at a Roots car, because Minxes, Gazelles, all of this sort of stuff is relatively cheap to buy into. You can buy a budget friendly one of these for well under £5 and get change at a much better condition than you can something like a Morris Minor. And also you get that massive boot that I was showing you get loads of space to cram all your mates in, and the size of it is much more practical. You can get a lot more in, and you get a bigger engine as well. And so realistically, in many ways, cars like this are actually a much better bet. I've really enjoyed driving this car today. Hats off to the owner, Julian. I think that he has invested so much money into this, and it really does show. It is a beautiful car. I've personally really enjoyed it. I've loved the colour, which is very shallow roofing to love a car, but I absolutely adore it. I've enjoyed driving it. I always enjoy driving a Minx, and it's so lovely to see people pouring love, care and attention into these cars after the names that sat under Roots are long gone. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you loving it? Are you tempted to go and buy a Minx? Have you owned one before? Let's all reignite the love of these cars, because let's face it, it takes enthusiasts like us to keep these names alive and to keep the enthusiasm going for the next generation. But from me, well, I'm hopelessly lost. Perhaps intentionally so, because I'm really enjoying this car. But until next time when we meet again, take care and drive safely.